The night sky was clear, and the moon shone brighter than ever before. Scientists at the Lunar Observation Center stared at their screens, confused and amazed. Something strange was happening. A deep, rhythmic pulse was coming from the moon. It was not natural. It was not random. It was like a signal, a message waiting to be heard. Dr. Emily Carter, the lead scientist, adjusted her glasses and rewound the data. "This signal, it's repeating every 10 minutes," she whispered. The sound was unlike anything ever recorded. It was not radio waves. It was not a cosmic anomaly. It felt alive. Around the world, strange things began to happen. Satellites went offline for a few seconds, causing momentary blackouts. Power grids flickered, and electronic devices behaved strangely. The signal was affecting Earth in ways no one could explain. Governments rushed to investigate, but no one had answers. Meanwhile, in a secret military base, General Mark Reynolds watched the reports. "If this is an attack, we need to know who is behind it," he said. His officers looked at each other. This was not an attack. This was something much older, something waiting beneath the moon's surface. The world's top minds gathered to discuss the event. Theories filled the air. Some believed it was an ancient warning. Others thought it was an invitation. But one thing was clear. Something under the moon had awakened. A decision was made. A team would be sent to investigate. They had the best scientists, the best soldiers, and the best pilots. They were humanity's finest, and their mission was simple: find out what was happening and return with answers. As their spacecraft launched, the signal pulsed once more. This time, it was stronger. This time, the moon seemed to react. Unknown to the team, the moon had been waiting for this moment for millions of years. The message was sent. The gates were opening, and humanity was about to discover its true destiny. The spacecraft moved silently through the darkness of space, heading toward the moon. Inside, the crew prepared for landing. Dr. Emily Carter studied the data on her screen, her fingers tapping nervously. The signal had grown stronger, almost like it was reacting to their presence. She glanced at Commander David Hayes, who sat across from her, adjusting his helmet. "This doesn't feel like just a normal mission," she said. "It isn't," Hayes replied. "Something down there is waiting for us." As the shuttle descended, the lunar surface came into view. The familiar craters and gray dust stretched endlessly, but something was different. A faint blue glow pulsed beneath the surface, spreading in perfect patterns, as if something beneath the moon was alive. The landing was smooth. The crew, wearing advanced spacesuits, stepped onto the surface. The silence was overwhelming. No sound, no movement, only the endless stars above and the strange glow beneath their feet. Then, a vibration ran through the ground. Emily gasped as she looked down. The dust at her feet trembled, then shifted. A massive crack appeared, running like a scar across the moon's surface. The glow beneath intensified, forming lines that led toward a massive rock formation. It was not just a rock, it was a door. "Do you see that?" whispered Sergeant Lewis, gripping his rifle tightly. Hayes nodded. "It's a structure, and it's opening." The team moved carefully toward the massive gateway, their breath heavy. As they reached it, the glowing lines pulsed again, and with a deep, ancient rumble, the ground split apart. A hidden entrance appeared, leading into darkness. The inside was not made of stone. It was metal, smooth and ancient. Symbols, glowing with the same blue light, lined the walls. Emily reached out, tracing one of the markings with her gloved hand. "This is not natural. This is not human," she said softly. The moment her fingers touched the symbol, the walls came to life. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. It spoke in no known language, yet somehow every member of the crew understood. Humanity has arrived. The trial begins. Before anyone could react, the entrance sealed shut, trapping them inside. The walls shifted, forming a pathway deeper into the structure. The glow grew brighter, and the air felt heavier, as if something was watching them. Emily turned to Hayes, her voice trembling. "I don't think we found the moon's secret. I think it found us." No one spoke. The only sound was the distant hum of something waking up. The walls around them pulsed with dim blue light, casting eerie shadows as the team moved deeper into the ancient structure. The silence was overwhelming. Every step they took echoed down the metallic corridors, making it feel as though something unseen was listening, waiting. Commander Hayes held his rifle tightly, scanning the surroundings. "Keep moving," he ordered. "Stay together." Dr. Emily Carter walked beside him, her mind racing with questions. The symbols on the walls, glowing, shifting, felt strangely familiar, as if they were meant to be understood. She brushed her gloved fingers over one of the markings, and for a brief second, something flickered in her mind. A memory, a vision. She couldn't tell. As they ventured further, the corridor opened into a massive chamber. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. The ceiling stretched high, covered in swirling constellations, but these were not Earth's stars. In the center of the room stood a monolithic structure, smooth and polished, yet ancient. The blue energy pulsed from within it, spreading outward in complex patterns. Then the lights shifted. The constellations on the ceiling moved. Emily gasped. "This isn't just a structure. It's a machine." The team stepped forward cautiously, weapons ready. As they approached the monolith, the ground trembled slightly, and a deep hum filled the air. Then, without warning, the smooth surface of the monolith split open, revealing a spiraling vortex of shifting light. A sudden rush of energy surged through the room. The suit's sensors overloaded, flashing red warnings across their visors. A cold, electric sensation crawled over their skin. The team fell to their knees, gasping, as something pushed into their minds. Visions, memories, but not their own. Emily clutched her head as images flooded her consciousness. A civilization unlike anything on Earth. Tall, luminous beings walking on vast cities of metal and light. A great war, ancient beyond time. And then, a final desperate act. The moon was not just a satellite. It was a guardian, a vault designed to hold something. And now, after millions of years, that vault was unlocking. The images vanished as suddenly as they came. The team staggered to their feet, their breathing heavy. What the hell was that? Sergeant Lewis panted, gripping his helmet. Emily turned to Hayes, her face pale. They left something here, and they made sure no one could find it until humanity was ready. Hayes glanced around the chamber, his instincts screaming that they were being watched. If this was meant to be hidden, why are we seeing it now? Before anyone could answer, a deep mechanical voice echoed from the monolith. Unlike before, this voice was not welcoming. Unauthorized presence detected. The walls of the chamber began to shift. Hidden panels slid open, revealing massive, humanoid constructs standing motionless. Their eyes glowed with the same blue light. And then they moved. The team barely had time to react as the ancient sentinels activated, stepping forward with mechanical precision. Their arms unfolded, revealing glowing weapons, ones that hummed with power not meant for humans to face. Hayes raised his rifle. "Move. Now." The team turned to run, but the entrance behind them had already sealed shut. The only way forward was deeper into the moon's secrets. Emily's mind raced as they fled down the corridor. The visions had shown her something. Something important. This was a test. A trial. And if they failed, they wouldn't just die. They would never be remembered. The ground rumbled beneath their feet as the towering sentinels moved toward them, their glowing eyes locked onto the intruders. The hum of their weapons sent a sharp vibration through the air. The team had no choice but to run. Commander Hayes pushed forward, leading the group down a winding corridor that pulsed with the same eerie blue light. "Keep moving," he shouted. Behind them, the sound of heavy metallic footsteps echoed, growing louder with every passing second. Sergeant Lewis turned and fired a burst from his rifle. The bullet struck the nearest sentinel, but instead of piercing its metallic body, they stopped midair and disintegrated in a burst of blue energy. "They've got shields," Lewis cursed. Dr. Emily Carter barely had time to process the terrifying reality. They were trapped in an ancient machine built by something far beyond human understanding. But she couldn't stop thinking about the visions, the beings in the memories. They had been stronger, faster, more advanced than humans. And yet they had hidden this place. Why? The corridor suddenly split into two paths. Hayes hesitated for a fraction of a second, then pointed. "Left. Go left." The team sprinted through the passage, but as soon as they entered, the walls behind them shifted. The metal groaned and twisted, sealing off the path they had come from. There was no turning back. Emily's heart pounded. "The moon is changing. It's adapting to us." "Then we adapt too," Hayes said, gripping his weapon tighter. Ahead, the passage opened into another chamber, but this one was different. Instead of cold metal walls, it felt alive. Pulsing blue veins of energy ran through the structure, connecting to a central platform. In the middle, a pedestal floated, surrounded by rings of shifting symbols. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The moment she stepped forward, the symbols responded. They moved, forming patterns that felt almost familiar. "The trial," she whispered. "This is part of the trial." Hayes eyed the floating structure warily. "We don't have time for puzzles, Doc. Those things are still after us." "No, wait," Emily insisted, her fingers tracing the glowing symbols. The moment she touched them, a surge of warmth spread through her body. It wasn't painful. It was awakening something. And then, the weight of the moon shifted. Every member of the team gasped as they felt their bodies react. It was subtle at first. Their breaths felt easier, their limbs lighter. Then realization struck. The gravity had changed, but not just the moon's. Theirs. Lewis clenched his fist and stared at his arm. "What the hell?" "I feel stronger." One of the scientists, Dr. Patel, took a cautious step forward, then leaped into the air. Instead of landing immediately, he hung there for a moment, suspended in defiance of physics, before dropping back down. His eyes widened in shock. "This isn't just gravity," he muttered. "Something is altering us." Emily turned back to the pedestal, her mind racing. This wasn't just a test. This was an activation. The moon wasn't just revealing its secrets, it was unlocking something hidden inside them. Then, a deafening roar filled the chamber. The sentinels had found them. The towering machines charged, their energy weapons glowing hot. But something was different now. When the first sentinel swung its massive arm toward them, Hayes moved faster than he should have. His reflexes were sharper, his movements effortless. He ducked, dodged, and fired his weapon before he even realized what he was doing. The bullets hit this time. The sentinel staggered back, sparks flying from its chest. Its shield had failed. Lewis grinned. "I don't know what just happened, but I like it." Another sentinel lunged. Emily didn't think. She just reacted. Her body moved on instinct, and before she knew it, she had leaped backward, 15 feet into the air, and landed with perfect balance. Her eyes widened. "We're changing." The trial, Hayes realized. We passed the first stage, but the sentinels weren't done. They adjusted, preparing for a deadlier attack. The team wasn't ready for whatever came next. And then the walls shifted again. The floor beneath them collapsed, sending them tumbling downward into darkness. The last thing Emily saw before they fell was the pedestal, still glowing, still pulsing. The moon had given them a gift. But now, it was time for the real test. Darkness swallowed them as they plummeted, their bodies twisting through the air. Emily's heart pounded in her chest. She braced for impact, expecting cold metal or jagged rock, but it never came. Instead, they slowed. It was unnatural. The fall should have killed them, yet something unseen caught them, softened gravity itself, and lowered them gently onto a smooth metallic surface. The glowing veins of energy pulsed beneath them, spreading outward like a living nervous system. Lewis groaned and pushed himself up. "Okay, that's twice now. The moon has saved us from dying. I don't know if I should be grateful or terrified." Commander Hayes scanned their surroundings, his weapon still gripped tightly. The chamber they had fallen into was vast, larger than anything they had seen so far. The walls were lined with enormous crystalline structures, each humming with the same deep blue light that seemed to respond to their presence. "This isn't a prison," Emily whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's something else." Then the light around them shifted. The chamber came alive. From the center of the room, a shape emerged. At first it was just shifting light, a swirl of energy suspended in the air. Then it formed, a humanoid figure, tall and elegant, made entirely of shimmering blue energy. No face, no features, only an ever-changing silhouette. The team instinctively raised their weapons. "Wait," Emily said quickly, stepping forward. "I think it's watching us." The figure did not move, but they felt it inside their minds. It did not speak in words, yet its message was clear. A flood of images filled their thoughts, millions of years of history compressed into seconds. They saw a time before Earth had even formed, when a civilization so advanced it rivaled gods ruled the stars. These beings were not conquerors. They were guardians, tasked with protecting something precious, something sacred. Then came the threat. An enemy unlike any other, a force so powerful it could consume entire galaxies. These beings had fought against it, but they had not won. They had barely survived. In desperation, they built the moon, not as a natural satellite, but as a fortress, a last line of defense. And in their final act, they did something unimaginable. They sealed their knowledge within the genetic code of their chosen successors. Humanity. The vision faded. Emily gasped, staggering backward. The truth hit her with the force of a collapsing star. "We aren't just here by accident," she breathed. "We are their legacy." Hayes looked around, his mind reeling. "Are you saying we've been carrying their power this whole time?" Emily nodded. "Dormant. Until now." The energy figure tilted its head, as if acknowledging her words. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, it raised an arm and pointed toward the far end of the chamber. A new passage opened, one leading deeper. Lewis exhaled. "Yeah, I don't like where this is going." Hayes adjusted his grip on his rifle. "We don't have a choice." They moved forward, stepping through the glowing corridor. As they walked, something inside them continued to change. Their senses sharpened. Their movements became more fluid. Their minds felt clearer. But something else was happening. The deeper they went, the more they felt it, a presence. Something huge was waiting for them ahead. Something ancient. Something that had been asleep for far too long. The moon had awoken, and so had its greatest secret. The corridor stretched endlessly, illuminated by the soft pulse of glowing veins within the walls. Every step the team took felt heavier, not because of exhaustion, but because of the power stirring within them. The strange energy coursing through the moon was no longer just affecting their surroundings. It was changing them. Emily's mind raced with everything they had learned. The moon was never just a satellite. It was a fortress, a last gift from an ancient civilization. And now, after millions of years, humanity had triggered something buried deep within its core. But what? Commander Hayes kept his weapon raised, his body tense. He wasn't afraid. Not anymore. The changes within him had made him faster, stronger, sharper. He could feel everything around him with unnatural clarity, as if the moon itself was speaking to him. A sudden vibration rippled through the walls. A deep, distant rumble echoed from ahead. "Something's waking up," Lewis muttered. The corridor opened into a vast, circular chamber, larger than anything they had seen before. The walls stretched high, curving into a perfect dome. At the very center stood an obelisk, smooth and dark, surrounded by floating rings of shifting energy. The air hummed with power. But there was something else. A presence. Emily felt it before she saw it. A pressure in the air, heavy and overwhelming, like a storm waiting to break. Then, the shadows at the edge of the chamber moved. Something huge shifted. From the darkness, it emerged. A titan. Not a machine like the Sentinels, not a projection of energy like the Guardian before. This was something else entirely. It was old. It was watching them. And as it stepped forward, the weight of its existence made the chamber tremble. It was humanoid in shape, but impossibly massive, its body made of dark metal interwoven with veins of the same glowing energy that pulsed through the moon. Its face was featureless, except for two piercing, burning lights where eyes should be. The moment it fully emerged, a deep, resonating voice filled the chamber. "You are untested." The words did not come from sound, but directly into their minds, pressing against their thoughts with the weight of an entire civilization's judgment. Hayes tightened his grip on his weapon. "Who? What are you?" The Titan's gaze burned into him. "The last guardian of this place, the keeper of the trials. You have awakened what has long been sealed. Now you must prove yourselves worthy." Emily stepped forward, her heart pounding. Worthy of what? The ground beneath them shook. The obelisk at the center of the room began to glow brighter, and suddenly, the floating rings surrounding it collapsed inward, forming a swirling vortex of pure energy. The Titan raised a massive arm, and the energy swirled, shifting in divisions. They saw the stars, planets burning, a great, endless darkness devouring entire civilizations. They saw the war, the ancient war, that had led to this moment. And then they saw Earth. The vision lingered on it. The blue oceans, the green forests, the sprawling cities. And beyond it, something coming. A force moving through the void, drawn to humanity's light. A force that the ancient ones had tried, and failed, to stop. The Titan's voice returned. "You carry their legacy. Their strength is in you, but you are not ready." The team looked at one another. The truth was sinking in. This wasn't just about uncovering the moon's secrets. This wasn't about ancient civilizations or lost history. This was a warning. Lewis clenched his fists. "Then make us ready." The Titan stared at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time, the energy flowing through its body flared, a burst of power so immense it sent shockwaves through the chamber. The final trial had begun. A deafening pulse of energy shook the chamber as the Titan extended its massive arms. The swirling vortex of light at the center expanded, bathing everything in a cold blue glow. The air grew thick, charged with power so intense it made their skin tingle. Then the voice returned. "The final trial begins. Survive, and you will awaken." The ground beneath them shifted. The metallic floors split apart, forming jagged platforms that floated in midair, constantly moving. The chamber transformed, rearranging itself into an ever-changing battleground. And then, they came. From the shifting shadows, figures emerged, not machines, not sentinels, but something far worse. They were warriors, tall and humanoid, yet their bodies were woven from the same dark metal and glowing veins as the Titan. They moved with eerie precision, their forms flickering between solid and energy, as if they existed between two realities. Their eyes burned with the same ancient power that had been awakening inside the team. Emily's breath caught in her throat. "They're like us." "No," Hayes muttered, gripping his rifle. "They're what we're supposed to become." The first warrior struck. It moved with blinding speed, closing the distance in an instant. Hayes barely had time to react before a shimmering blade materialized in its hand, slashing toward him. But something inside him knew. His body moved before he could think, dodging the attack with impossible reflexes. And then, he countered. His fist connected with the warrior's chest, and instead of feeling like he was hitting solid metal, the energy within him surged. A shockwave exploded from the impact, sending the warrior flying across the chamber. The others weren't so lucky. Lewis barely had time to raise his weapon before two warriors descended on him. He fired, but the bullets passed through their bodies, as if they weren't fully there. A blade swiped toward his neck. He twisted, barely avoiding the strike. Emily's mind raced. They weren't fighting with weapons or brute force. They were fighting with control. It wasn't about physical strength. It was about unlocking what had been inside them all along. "Stop thinking like humans," she shouted. "Feel it. The moon isn't just testing us. It's activating us." The moment she said it, everything clicked. Hayes felt it. An unseen force guiding him, enhancing him, awakening him. He moved with perfect precision, every attack a seamless flow of motion. He struck another warrior, and this time, his fist glowed with the same energy running through the chamber. The warrior didn't just fall. It disintegrated into a burst of blue light. Lewis, catching on, stopped firing, and instead focused. He let go of his weapon, took a deep breath, and moved with the energy instead of against it. When the next warrior lunged, he sidestepped at the last possible second, his hand phasing through the warrior's body. Then, a pulse. A shockwave exploded from his fingertips, sending the enemy crashing into the floating platforms. Emily closed her eyes. She could feel the moon, its power, its knowledge, its history flowing through her veins. This was never just about proving their strength. This was about awakening the potential hidden in all of humanity. They had always been meant for more. The battle intensified. The warriors fought relentlessly, pushing them to their limits. But now, the team wasn't just surviving. They were adapting, moving faster, fighting smarter. Every strike became more precise, every movement more fluid. They were no longer humans struggling against an alien force. They were becoming something else. Then, as suddenly as it began, the warriors froze. The entire chamber stopped shifting. The vortex of light at the center pulsed one last time, and then collapsed, fading into nothingness. Silence. The Titan watched them, its burning gaze filled with something that almost resembled satisfaction. It is done. The warriors dissolve, their bodies turning into streams of light that flowed into the walls. The floating platforms lowered, the chamber settling into its original form. Emily exhaled sharply, her body still thrumming with energy. She wasn't the same. None of them were. Hayes turned to the Titan. "What happens now?" The massive being took a slow step forward. "You are the first in thousands of years to pass the trial. You are ready." The walls around them changed again. This time, they didn't reveal another battlefield or test. Instead, they showed the stars, a massive, breathtaking view of the galaxy beyond. And there, in the distance, something was coming. An unseen force, still far away but approaching. The warning had been real. The ancient enemy was still out there, and now, it had sensed what had been awakened. The Titan looked at them one last time. "Go back to your world. Prepare them. The war is not over." The chamber shifted again, and before any of them could react, they were back, standing on the surface of the moon. The earth hung in the sky above them, just as they had left it. But now, everything was different. They were different. The moon had awakened, and so had humanity's true power.